my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. I have read some interesting books the past week or so, so I am excited to talk about them. Let's just jump right into that. Oh, side note though, I will have a better background in a few weeks. We're still in the process of moving, and so if anything, my background's getting more and more boring. My cool bookish background is up at the house, and there's like not even pictures on the wall anymore. So background will get interesting in a few weeks, but let's jump into the books. The first book that I would like to talk about was a recommendation from Shelly Swearingen, and I will make sure to link her channel down below. So this book is Tiny Beautiful Things, Advice from Dear Sugar by Cheryl Strayed. And I read Cheryl Strayed's book Wild quite a long time ago. It's been a few years, and I remember kind of having mixed feelings on it. Like, some of it was good, some of it I didn't really connect to, but this book is a collection of her work on an advice column. This book is exactly what I needed when I needed it, an advice column. What a great way to pass the day, listening to an advice column while painting a house. That was what I did, and it was perfect. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. You get that whole advice getting kind of thing going on. As my husband said, you are one step away from just reading self-help books. And I'm like, oh, but this is other people getting help, so it's great. No, I really enjoyed listening to it. Some of them connected more than others. I don't know if it was like 5 stars, the best book ever, but it was a very enjoyable way to spend an afternoon. The reason that this was a successful advice column and why I think it works well in a book is that it's not just people write in with their problems and she tells them how to fix it. It's usually they write in with their problems and she writes a whole story, relates her life to their problems, and talks about how to learn and grow from those kinds of experiences. And I think that it was really well thought out, really nicely written, and very interesting. So, I mean, if you want to pick up this kind of book, I thought it was worth the read. Now, I picked up Our Missing Hearts by Celestine, and I have enjoyed Celestine's books before. I think that she does a really good job at making me feel very connected to the characters. And this book is following a 12-year-old Bird, and he is living with his father, and his mother is gone, and they have to pretend that they never had anything to do with her. And this is kind of this dystopian future. This dystopian future is that everything has to be preserving American culture, and anything that is seen as anti-American is going to be removed. And so books are disappearing, children are taken from homes, and I thought that it was a very present and real kind of dystopian book, because a lot of the elements in this book already take place. Banning of books, the unwarranted removing of children from homes, all of that is things that happen now. And I think that it was very smart to take that, push it to a bit more of an extreme, and have kind of this dystopian book. I thought it was a little bit of a departure from Celestine's other works that I have read, but I thought it was really well written and the writing was beautiful. That being said, I also felt a little bored. It seemed a little formulaic, like this is a dystopian book, and I never really wondered what was going to happen because I kind of knew what was going to happen. It just seemed to follow a pattern that I feel like I have read so many times. So while the specifics were interesting and the writing was good, and if you wanted to pick this up, I think you would have a good time with it, I just think it was a little bit boring, and I think it needed maybe something a little more original or a complete departure from kind of that type. I just felt like, oh yeah, he's gonna go find his mom who might be a leader of the resistance, and you know, like, it was just a little bit formulaic for me, but overall, like, it was interesting, but it ended up just kind of being somewhere in the middle for me. This next book was a recommendation from Julia at the channel Welcome to the Museum, so I will link her channel down below. And I read Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, and this is a translated book. This book follows 36-year-old Keiko, and she works at a convenience store, and it gives her life meaning. She feels like she is a part of that convenience store machine. She has worked there since she was 18, and this is her life. She loves the convenience store. It gives her life purpose, meaning, structure, but everyone in her life thinks that she's just at a dead end. She works at a convenience store. She has no meaningful relationships. She has no friends, really. She has some friends that she meets up with, but it's just, they all look at her like, what are you doing? You've spent your whole life working in a convenience store. And so she takes a slight departure and tries to do some things a little bit differently to see if she can please the people in her life. I thought this was a super unique perspective. I don't see this very often. And I thought that it was such a short book, it was worth picking up. Now, did I love this book and super connect with it? No, but it was so different that I'm glad I picked it up, you know? Like, just such a strange book. But I enjoyed it. You can read this in a sitting and then just kind of think about it. It set a very interesting tone. It had some interesting ideas, but was just a very different voice. So I'm glad I picked it up. Kind of a weird one. If you've read it, let me know, like, what did you get from it? Because especially just kind of how it all ends up, you're like, this makes sense. It feels very satisfying. It really puts it all together super neatly. But why? So anyways, if you've read it, let me know. Now, Julia at Welcome to the Museum also recommended the book Ancestor Trouble, A Reckoning and a Reconciliation by Maud Newton. And I adored this book. So this is Maud Newton. She is writing about her life, her family history, and her exploration of that. So it's got a lot of that autobiography and her trying to figure it out, but it also kind of mixes in that nonfiction, look back into some historical context of what we know about genetics, what we know about how traits move through families and why. And I thought that it was super interesting and just a really important look. I think there are so many people who want to reach back and find that sense of connection from their antepasados. That's terrible. Ancestors. That's in the title of the book. Okay. I think there's so many people who want to look back and find meaning and connection and find that sense of family from their ancestors and learn from their mistakes, learn from the things that they did wrong that they shouldn't have done. And I think that that's a really important part of being a person, is finding that like real sense of roots and connection. And I think that this explored it in such a great way because it wasn't saying, yeah, I want to be just like my ancestors, they're wonderful. She talked about how her ancestors, a lot of them were racist, they were slave owners, they were all these things that she had to kind of come to terms with. And it was a reckoning for her to understand how she came from those places in order to move and grow and learn. So I think that it is such an important, like, I really liked this book because I think it's such an important topic. I think that people need to be asking these questions and need to be thinking about this. And so if you are interested all in your family history, I think you would enjoy this because I think a book that focuses very strongly on somebody's personal family history might be interesting, especially to them. But this brought in so many different elements talking about some of the context of searching for your ancestors that I think anybody could really find something to connect with in this book. So I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a really well done book, and yes, I do recommend this one. And those are the books I've read in the past week or so. If you have read any of these and have any thoughts, let me know in the comments down below. I should be back in another week or so. Oh, I don't know. My schedule is just all over the place right now, but hopefully I'll be able to devote some time to reading and tell you about what I've read in the next couple weeks. So I will see you all on the next one. Thanks.